I didn't mean to do this.
Something inside of me broke.
I told them I need my money. I need my money to get my daughter's medicine.
Friends, if you want to watch the amazing and thrilling movie Straw 2025 in English, then you must like this video. And if you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel Facts and Review for more exciting updates. Friends, in today's video, we are going to talk about a brand new and much anticipated movie, Straw 2025. We'll discuss what this movie is about, where you can watch it, and share all the interesting facts related to it. In this video, I will tell you on which OTT platform or satellite channel Straw 2025 will be available, and I'll give you complete information about its release. We'll also talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, and even the box office collection of this film once available. Apart from that, we will cover the storyline of the film, and I'll also give you a short review of its plot. We'll talk about the star cast, the performances of the lead actors, and which actor is playing which character. So, I request all of you to watch this video till the end, because if you're a true movie lover, you don't want to miss out on the details of Straw 2025. So without any delay, let's begin the video. Let me know if you want this translated into Urdu or if you want a version with more suspense or dramatic tone. Here's a detailed, third-person analysis of Straw 2025, its narrative structure, key turning points, conflicts, and emotional and thematic impact. Narrative structure and timeline. Straw follows a primarily linear structure, unfolding over the course of a single, harrowing day in the life of Jania Wilkinson, a struggling single mother. However, it includes strategic flashbacks and hallucinations that subtly disrupt the straightforward timeline, revealing critical emotional and psychological layers only near the climax. ShowbizZtoday.com. +15. en.wikipedia.org. +15. WashingtonPost.com. +15. Right-pointing magnifying glass key plot points and turning points. Morning routine and early struggles. Jania's day begins in her dilapidated apartment, caring for her frequently ill daughter, Aria. A tense but loving moment occurs during Aria's bath and science project prep, establishing their intimate bond and emotional stakes. EW.com. +2. en.wikipedia.org. +2. Decider.com. +2. Growing pressure. She drops Aria at school, where the principal glances strangely. Arrives late to work and faces disrespect, e.g., customer incident, eviction notice, withheld paycheck, which escalates her anxiety and vulnerability. en.wikipedia.org. Eviction cascade. Evicted for unpaid rent, and with her car impounded, Jania spirals, from caring mother to desperate individual, with nowhere left to turn. Indiatimes.com. +11. en.wikipedia.org. +11. Decider.com. +11. Violence unleashed. In a dramatic escalation, a robbery at her workplace leads Jania to wrestle for the gun. In self-defense, she unintentionally kills both the robber and her boss, a haunting turning point that pivots the story from financial desperation to criminal consequences. Bank standoff. Desperate to cash her paycheck, Jania's actions spiral into a tense hostage-like scenario when her science project is mistaken for a bomb. This misunderstood moment transforms the personal crisis into a public spectacle. Decider.com. +3. en.wikipedia.org. +3. Decider.com. +3. Public sympathy and negotiations. As police surround the bank, Detective Raymond negotiates with Jania. Simultaneously, a viral livestream garners public empathy, turning the crisis into a poignant social flashpoint about poverty, motherhood, and injustice. EWMagazineOnline.com. +12. en.wikipedia.org. +12. Decider.com. +12. Mind-bending revelation. Jania's mother calls, revealing that Aria died the previous night. The grand twist, Aria, and much of the day's interactions were hallucinations. The narrative's apparent reality unravels, forcing a re-evaluation of the emotional truth behind Jania's actions. imdb.com. +3. thegalsgaze.com. +3. litaglobal.com. +3. en.wikipedia.org. +1. decider.com. +1. resolution and surrender. The tear gassing and shooting that appear to conclude the standoff are also illusions. In reality, Jania calmly surrenders to Detective Raymond, accompanied by Nicole, marking a compassionate and restrained resolution. en.wikipedia.org. Scales, themes, and emotional resonance. Systemic pressure. Jania's bottleneck day reflects institutional neglect, economic hardship, eviction, and scheduling rigidity paint her plight as a systemic failure. Maternal devotion and sacrifice. Everything she does, from confronting robbers to standing off with police, is driven by fierce love for Arya. Her perceived survival becomes an act of existential desperation. Psychological unraveling. The horror of losing Arya spills into Jania's psyche, weaving illusions seamlessly into the real world. The breakdown blurs the line between objective events and subjective suffering. Public solidarity versus authority. The live stream and negotiations show how mass empathy can clash with institutional authority. Detective Raymond becomes the empathetic bridge between Jania's pain and society's response. Emotional and thematic impact. Empathy and catharsis. The film elicits deep empathy, especially in its twist revealing Arya's absence, turning earlier scenes into heartbreaking abstractions of a mother's grief, not fantasy escapades. Social commentary. By spotlighting economic precarity, Black maternal suffering, and institutional coldness, Straw reflects Tyler Perry's hallmark traits, heart-driven melodrama layered with social critique. en.wikipedia.org. +15. washingtonpost.com. +15. ew.com. +15. Psychological depth. The narrative's breakdown from external crisis to internal collapse accentuates the unseen toll of trauma. Jania's ruptured reality is a psychological portrait of despair and resilience. Ambiguous hope, her surrender, with Nicole's support and public attention, leaves an ambiguous yet cautiously hopeful note. Acknowledgement, not annihilation, may yet shape Jania's future. Final thoughts on narrative journey. Strain is anchored in a linear structure, but layered with subjective hallucinations that retroactively shift the meaning of key events. Turning points, workplace violence, bank siege, the twist revelation, serve dual roles, external conflict and interior psychological rupture. The third-person arc flows from despair, crisis, breakdown, acceptance. As a result, Straw operates as both a thriller and a psychological drama, a visceral, society-aware film that challenges viewers to feel Jania's pain and question what's real in her fractured world. Bullseye summary. Phase, event, and impact. Morning establishes maternal devotion and socioeconomic vulnerability. Noon or afternoon escalating pressures, eviction, job loss, legal trouble, highlight systemic cruelty. Evening violent standoff, actions cross into criminal, morality shifts from wrong to nuance. Climax hallucination twist, recontextualizes emotional reality and reveals true psychological stakes. Resolution calm surrender, pivotal moment of empathy, potential solidarity, and cautious hope. Straw offers a layered, emotionally intense narrative, an outward thriller fused with an inward disintegration, structured conventionally but subverted by climactic psychological turning. The result is an impactful story of desperate motherhood, social breakdown, and the fragile boundary between reality and trauma. Jania Wilkinson, Taraji P. Henson. Initial state. Jania is introduced as a loving but jaded single mother exhausted by economic struggles and systemic neglect. Her opening scenes, balancing a sick child, financial pressure, and evictions, establish her as emotionally layered and relatable. kirkusreviews.com. +14. en.wikipedia.org. +14. theguardian.com. +14. Motivations and growth. Her driving motivation is simple yet profound: protect her daughter. As hardships compound, eviction, job loss, car impoundment, her desperation escalates. These pressures lead to violent actions she never intended, revealing how dire circumstances can dismantle a person's moral boundaries. Emotional arc. Jania transforms from a struggling provider to someone pushed beyond her limits. Her gradual unraveling, under stress and grief, culminates in her unintended standoff. The ultimate twist, that the daughter was a hallucination, recontextualizes her entire journey as a mental breakdown rooted in trauma and love. Resolution and transformation. By the end, Jania emerges with newfound clarity and a fragile hope. Though her reality is fractured, her surrender shows acceptance and resolve. She's not defeated, but desperate for justice and empathy. Son with Ray's Nicole, Sherri Shepherd. Introduction. The bank manager Nicole is quietly introduced but becomes central during the standoff. Her calm presence and empathy contrast with institutional coldness. Relationship with protagonist. Nicole quickly bonds with Jania, subtly protecting her from escalation. She discreetly live-streams the event, humanizing the crisis and influencing public opinion, a nuanced act of solidarity. Development. Nicole's willingness to support under pressure and her shared understanding of motherhood deepen her character beyond a typical side role. She aligns with Jania emotionally when she recognizes the science project as non-threatening. Impact. Nicole emerges as the moral compass in the narrative, compassionate, brave, and humanizing. Her actions guide the situation from chaos toward resolution, highlighting the ripple effect of empathy. Shield Detective K. Raymond, Teyana Taylor. Role establishment. Introduced as the lead negotiator, Raymond brings discipline and authority, but evolves from procedural detachment into empathy-driven ally. Dynamic with Jania. Drawing on her own experiences, Raymond builds trust over phone negotiations, offering Jania both emotional and practical support. Arc and effect. Raymond leverages her power, demanding the threatening officer's removal, prioritizing Jania's safety over rigid protocol. This action disrupts the institutional response and preserves Jania's dignity. Symbolism. Raymond represents compassionate authority. Her arc, from standard negotiator to maternal advocate, bridges the gap between individual pain and systemic action. Supporting characters and symbolic roles. The boss, Glynn Turman, as an unsympathetic employer, he personifies exploitative authority. His false accusations against Jania reflect his refusal to see her humanity amid crisis. Robbers. These characters catalyze the narrative, forcing Jania into violent self-defense. They symbolize external forces compounding her internal turmoil. Aria, hallucination though not real. Aria is central to Jania's psyche. She embodies hope, purpose, and grief, and serves as the emotional fulcrum of her collapse. The revelation of her absence retroactively reshapes every interaction and decision. Interwoven arcs and thematic resonance. Maternal bonds and trauma. Jania's mother-daughter bond drives every decision. Her protective instincts, and their unraveling, offer a poignant emotional anchor. The ghost of grief defines her entire arc. Authority versus humanity. Across characters, there's a tension between institutional blindness and individual compassion. Nicole and Raymond humanize the system. The boss and systemic policies depict its failures. Psychological depth. Hallucinations as character development tools highlight the emotional stakes. They shift the film from external action to internal crisis. Jania's breakdown becomes the real story, reframing her transformation. Glowing star final evaluation. Are the characters well developed? Yes. Straw offers richly layered characters whose relationships, transformations, and emotional states deeply influence the narrative. Character arc highlights. Jania from overwhelmed provided traumatic breakdown, calm surrender, and resolution. Nicole from silent, professional, empathetic confidant, protective ally. Detective Raymond from authority figure, empathetic negotiator and advocate. Supporting roles serve as catalysts, mirrors, and thematic pivot points. Together, they create a multidimensional exploration of desperation, sacrifice, compassion, and resilience. Their arcs are interdependent. Their relationships and growth propel the film into its emotionally resonant climax. In conclusion, Straw delivers meaningful character development. Each primary character evolves through hardship, exhibiting significant emotional transformations. Their motivations and relationships define the thematic core: humanity under pressure, the power of empathy, and the psychological consequences of love and loss. Taraji P. Henson anchors the film with a powerhouse performance as Jania, a mother pushed to the brink. Critics praise her portrayal as deeply authentic and touching, with audiences calling for award recognition. The performance, deeply authentic and touching, resonates powerfully. TheGuardian.com. +7. EW.com. +7. IndiaTimes.com. +7. The Washington Post echoes this sentiment, describing her work as heroic if undisciplined, capturing the raw desperation and resilience of a mother in crisis. WashingtonPost.com. Across various outlets, Henson is commended for embodying a believable mess and delivering an intense, emotive portrayal that grounds the entire narrative. WashingtonPost.com. Sherri Shepherd, as Nicole, stands out in a largely supporting role. Reviewers note her measured portrayal, adding calm empathy within the hostage crisis. Her performance adds nuanced warmth, bridging Jania's emotional turmoil to the viewer with quiet strength. Teyana Taylor, portraying Detective K. Raymond, offers another standout turn. She transitions from procedural negotiator to a deeply empathetic advocate, a single mother who gives Jania the benefit of the doubt. EW.com. +15. WashingtonPost.com. +15. EW.com. +15. Her arc embodies authority tempered with compassion, significantly enhancing the emotional credibility of the film. Sinbad's performance draws attention, not only for its emotional heft but for its triumphant nature. His role as Benny marks a strong return after a 2020 stroke. Tyler Perry himself applauded Sinbad's resilience and impact in this film. Though his screen time is smaller, his presence adds both human depth and symbolic weight to the supporting ensemble. The rest of the ensemble, Glynn Turman, Rockmond Dunbar, and other supporting actors, contribute effectively to the film's tapestry of tension, systemic pressure, and solidarity. WashingtonPost.com. +8. en.wikipedia.org. +8. IndiaTimes.com. +8. While stylistically melodramatic in places, the cast's collective gravitas helps ground even the more sensational plot turns. Performing Arts Overall Performance Analysis. Lead Performance. Henson carries the emotional center of the film, her portrayal lauded for its authenticity, emotional range, and raw energy. Supporting Ensemble, Shepherd and Taylor, in particular, bolster the narrative with empathy and authority. Sinbad's return injects both emotional richness and narrative resonance. Emotional and thematic enhancements. The actors effectively elevate the film's core themes: maternal desperation, systemic injustice, community bonds, making the characters feel lived in and believable despite the narrative's dramatics. White have a checkmark final verdict on acting. The cast of Straw delivers compelling, emotionally resonant performances that anchor the film's high-stakes drama. Taraji P. Henson's portrayal is the undeniable highlight, powerful, authentic, and affecting. Complemented by strong supporting roles from Shepherd, Taylor, and Sinbad, the ensemble collectively elevates the material, forging a believable and emotionally rich cinematic experience. Taraji P. Henson as Jania Wilkinson, a career-defining performance. Taraji P. Henson delivers a raw, emotionally volatile, and deeply human portrayal of Jania, a single mother at the breaking point. From the opening scenes, Henson captures the exhaustion, anxiety, and quiet despair that define Jania's day-to-day existence. She doesn't merely act the part, she inhabits it. Her body language, slouched shoulders, shaking hands, tired eyes, tells a story of cumulative trauma and systemic neglect before she ever utters a word. As the tension escalates, Henson's performance evolves into a visceral depiction of unraveling mental stability. Her ability to shift from protective mother to desperate hostage taker without ever losing the viewer's empathy is a testament to her nuanced command of the character. Even in Jania's most volatile moments, Henson ensures we understand her pain, not just witness her rage. The climactic reveal, that her daughter Aria has been dead for 2 years, recontextualizes every moment prior. Henson retroactively makes sense of every emotionally unstable scene, every moment of hallucinated joy, through a heartbreakingly subtle performance. She doesn't overplay the twist. Instead, she lets the weight of grief settle across her face in a silent, devastating moment of clarity. Key performance traits: emotional vulnerability without melodrama, gradual psychological descent portrayed with restraint, poetic yet grounded expression of grief and guilt, seamless embodiment of a woman both victimized and resilient. Standout moment: the scene where she believes she's defending her daughter from armed robbers. The ferocity and maternal instinct in her eyes, combined with the trembling fear, is a masterclass in layered emotion. Handshake Sherri Shepherd as Nicole, the quiet power of empathy. Shepherd's portrayal of Nicole, the bank manager, is a study in subtlety and emotional intelligence. Rather than resorting to dramatic flourishes, Shepherd plays Nicole as calm, grounded, and compassionate, even in the face of danger. What makes Shepherd's performance shine is her ability to connect with both Jania and the audience without grand gestures. Her empathy feels lived in, not performative. She acts not as a hostage, but as an ally. Nicole's soft-spoken concern, Steady eye contact and firm yet non-judgmental tone position her as the emotional foil to Jania's chaotic grief. Nicole's quiet decision to livestream the situation adds another layer to Shepherd's performance. She becomes an active agent in shifting public perception, but without drawing attention to herself. Performance highlights: understated yet pivotal presence, humanizing force amidst chaos, elevates scenes by offering a calm, emotional counterbalance. Standout moment: when Nicole realizes the science project is not a bomb. The blend of maternal recognition and calm persuasion she uses to de-escalate the situation shows Shepherd's control over subtle emotional beats. Dove Teyana Taylor as Detective K. Raymond, tough exterior, soft core. Taylor's Detective Raymond is introduced as a by-the-book negotiator, but quickly becomes one of the story's most compassionate voices. Her arc reflects a shift from procedural rigidity to maternal solidarity. Taylor's commanding screen presence gives Raymond gravitas. Yet, she carefully softens her character through phone conversations with Jania, revealing the detective's own experiences as a mother and woman of color in a system she cannot fully trust either. Her voice, deliberately measured, exudes both strength and understanding. She is particularly effective in the final negotiation scenes, where her eyes convey a delicate balance between duty and empathy. By advocating for Jania's safe surrender and directly intervening to have a trigger-happy officer removed from the scene, Taylor's performance reveals deep moral conviction. Performance traits: steady, commanding voice with emotional nuance. Portrays quiet solidarity and understanding of institutional racism. Effective use of stillness and eye contact to convey inner conflict. Standout moment: her heartfelt phone call with Jania where she shares a personal anecdote about her own child, a moment that breaks down barriers and reveals her character's deep humanity. Older man Sinbad as Benny, a symbolic, respected presence. In a limited but powerful role, Sinbad's performance as Benny, a kindly character in the community, is made more poignant by his real-life recovery from a 2020 stroke. Tyler Perry cast him intentionally to honor his resilience, and that strength radiates in every scene. Benny becomes a symbolic figure, representing wisdom, history, and the enduring spirit of black men often erased from these stories. Sinbad brings warmth and moral authority, and his scenes act as grounding moments in the chaos. Standout moment: a quiet exchange where he urges calm and expresses support for Jania, grounding the scene in emotional authenticity and quiet strength. #handshake #supporting cast, layered and functional. Glynn Turman, Jania's boss, cold and manipulative. Turman plays his role with just enough nuance to avoid cartoon villainy, but enough venom to reflect systemic exploitation. Rockmond Dunbar, Cruz, and the Robbers. They serve as catalysts in the narrative, pushing Jania toward her ultimate unraveling. Their performances are efficient and effective, never overshadowing the core emotional thread, but enhancing the stakes. Performing arts final evaluation. Acting as the emotional spine of Straw. Actor role performance impact. Taraji P. Henson Jania soul-crushing, transformative, central to emotional tone. Sherri Shepherd Nicole calm, empathetic, a steadying influence. Teyana Taylor Det Raymond tough yet sensitive, represents nuanced authority. Sinbad Benny warmth, resilience, adds historical weight. Supporting cast, functional, realistic, adds urgency and tension. Overall, Straw thrives on its outstanding ensemble cast, with Henson delivering one of her most emotionally layered and career-defining performances. Each actor enhances the film's emotional credibility, turning what could have been a high-concept melodrama into a grounded, deeply moving human story. Let me know if you'd like a video script or social media post based on this review. Tyler Perry's direction in Straw, 2025, plays an essential role in establishing the film's relentless tone and emotional intensity. He employs stylistic choices that intensify viewer immersion and accentuate the psychological collapse of its protagonist. Here's an in-depth analysis from a third-person perspective. Movie camera tone and mood. Perry sets a tense, harrowing atmosphere from the very first frames. Dim, cramped interiors, muted color grading, and claustrophobic spaces reflect Jania's socioeconomic and psychological constraints. Fastercapital.com. +7. en.wikipedia.org. +7. Decider.com. +7. The film is steeped in an almost suffocating realism, turning everyday struggles, delinquent rent, eviction threats, medical debt, into a life-or-death avalanche. Mid-film, as chaos ensues, Perry shifts into high-tension mode, ratcheting up pacing and editing to mirror Jania's mental and emotional unraveling. Clapperboard pacing and structure. While the first half unfolds at a brisk, almost chaotic pace, building pressure through one setback after another, critics have noted that transitions feel mismatched, moves from day to night in about 3 seconds. EW.com. This technique can be jarring, but it's a deliberate stylistic choice conveying emotional fragmentation. The tone shifts again in the hostage standoff, where pacing steadies to resemble a tense dialogue-driven thriller, evoking Dog Day Afternoon, as Perry draws out emotional resonance. Decider.com. +2. EW.com. +2. WashingtonPost.com. +2. Shot composition and visual choices. Perry, working with cinematographer Justin Morrow, uses tight framing in Jania's apartment and supermarket to evoke suffocation. Overhead or reverse shots that dramatize emotional overwhelm, most memorably during the rain-drenched climax, where Jania kneels and screams upward under a crane shot, highlighting catharsis, though critics have called it cliché. en.wikipedia.org. Decider.com. +6. Decider.com. +6. EW.com. +6. Intimate close-ups during negotiation scenes, especially character-driven exchanges between Jania and Detective Raymond, foreground emotional nuance over spectacle. Decider.com. +2. EW.com. +2. en.wikipedia.org. +2. Narrative vision and stylistic intentionality. Perry fuses genres, melodrama, psychological thriller, social commentary, mirroring charged emotional and societal fault lines. He embraces motifs of fragile mental state and public spectacle, alternating between feverish personal turmoil and collective reaction, highlighted by the viral live stream that turns Jania into a folk heroine. WashingtonPost.com. +5. EW.com. +5. Decider.com. +5. In interviews, Perry emphasized his intention to depict authentic, relatable Black protagonists, rooted in real-life experiences. Straw continues that tradition, revisiting structural layering and thematic juxtaposition, utilizing personal breakdown within public crisis to underscore social critique and emotional resonance. Explosion symbol impact of directorial choices. Emotional immersion. Perry's raw, pressured tone ensures viewers not only understand but feel Jania's decline. Empathy through immediacy. Stylized shots and pacing amplify emotional moments, e.g., hostage room solidarity, soliloquies, heightening connection. Awareness of limitations. Some pacing leaps and high-drama choices border on melodrama. Critics describe certain scenes as heavy-handed. Netflix.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. IMDb.com. +2. But these choices reinforce Perry's vision, emotional resonance over cinematic subtlety. Left-pointing magnifying glass summary, directorial evaluation. Element Perry's approach and effect. Tone and mood shifting from claustrophobic realism to high-stress thriller mirrors Jania's internal collapse. Pacing deliberately uneven. Jarring transitions reflect emotional fracture, then calm to intensify negotiation tension. Cinematography tight frames, overhead cranes, close-ups, all stylized to foreground psychological and emotional stakes. Stylistic choices rated dramatic, occasionally cliché, but intentional in spotlighting trauma. Viral livestream scene extends personal ordeal to collective experience. Narrative vision themes of systemic failure, maternal despair, and the power of empathy shape story via visual and tonal consistency. Utilizing social collapse as counterpoint. Bullseye final thoughts. Tyler Perry's direction in Straw is unapologetically emotional, often overwhelming, occasionally tonally uneven, but always purposeful. His stylistic choices, tight framing, dynamic editing, dramatic camera angles, serve a central purpose, to plunge viewers into Jania's psychological and social abyss. Whether or not one finds scenes overdone, the film's emotional impact is undeniable. Perry leans into empathy, pain, and public spotlight, crafting a film that echoes both the cost of desperation and humanity's potential for solidarity. The cinematography of Straw, 2025, helmed by director of photography Justin Morrow, is a powerful, atmospheric tool that amplifies the film's emotional intensity and thematic weight. From oppressive interiors to volatile exteriors, the visual design reflects Jania Wilkinson's psychological descent and the broader systemic pressures bearing down on her. Through careful use of camera angles, lighting, and framing, the film delivers both visceral realism and stylized tension, creating a haunting and often claustrophobic viewing experience. Movie camera angles, POV, surveillance, and emotional distortion. The use of camera angles in Straw isn't merely functional, it's expressive, subjective, and, at times, overwhelming. Director Tyler Perry and cinematographer Justin Morrow lean heavily into low-angle and high-angle shots to underscore shifts in power, sanity, and emotional vulnerability. Low-angle shots of Jania, especially during her most unhinged moments inside the bank, are used to make her appear unpredictable, towering, even unstable, a visual metaphor for society's distorted view of black mothers in distress. High-angle overhead shots, most notably during the climax in the rain, show Jania as a small figure swallowed by her environment, symbolizing helplessness, defeat, and divine abandonment. One crane shot in particular, where Jania drops to her knees, arms raised, has been described by critics as both emotionally searing and borderline cliché, yet it's undeniably impactful. Point of view, POV, shots are used sparingly but with surgical intent. When Jania watches her hallucinated daughter, the shaky, almost handheld perspective mirrors her fragile grip on reality. It invites the audience into her fractured mental state, one step away from complete collapse. Electric light bulb lighting, shadow, symbolism, and psychological texture. Lighting in Straw plays a dual role, grounding the environment in social realism and casting emotional and symbolic shadows. The palette is mostly muted and naturalistic, designed to reflect the bleakness of Jania's world. Key lighting choices include naturalistic lighting in the supermarket and apartment scenes, flickering fluorescence, dull overcast daylight, creates a sterile, depressing backdrop. This emphasizes the economic deprivation and emotional fatigue Jania lives in. Stark contrasts inside the bank. During the hostage standoff, lighting shifts to a higher contrast mode. Warm and cool tones clash. The golden light from the outside windows competes with the interior's sterile whites and greens, representing a clash between emotional chaos and institutional sterility. Dark silhouettes and shadow play. As Jania becomes more erratic, lighting frames her in half shadow, often showing only parts of her face. This echoes her fractured psyche and heightens suspense. One especially evocative lighting moment occurs when Jania stands with her back to a bank vault, her face lit from below by a desk lamp while the rest of the room falls into darkness, symbolizing her isolation and the no-way-out sensation that defines the film. Framed picture hash framing and composition. Clutter, confinement, and humanization. The film frequently employs tight framing and boxed compositions, particularly in early scenes inside Jania's apartment and during the hostage situation. This spatial confinement mirrors her psychological entrapment and socioeconomic limitations. In the apartment, Jania is often shown hemmed in by walls, doors, cluttered furniture. Even when alone, she's framed like a prisoner. In the bank, the camera favors narrow depths of field, focusing tightly on Jania while background action blurs, reinforcing her sense of emotional tunnel vision and isolation. In crowd scenes, when bystanders record her standoff on their phones, Jania is framed as a spectacle, often centered in wide shots from a distance, reinforcing the film's critique of viral voyeurism and performative empathy. Framing also humanizes. Close-ups on Jania's trembling hands, tired eyes, and whispered monologues allow the audience to feel the depth of her pain. Justin Morrow's framing choices are intentionally intrusive, bringing us uncomfortably close to the rawest moments. Artist palette visually striking moments. Several scenes stand out visually, not just for their beauty but for their emotional and narrative resonance. The grocery store meltdown. The aisles blur in the background as the camera zooms in on Jania's shocked expression when her EBT card is declined. The combination of tight framing, harsh overhead lighting, and swelling noise creates panic and humiliation. The rain sequence, climax as police surround the bank. Jania stumbles outside in the rain. Here, Morrow and Perry combine natural elements with slow motion and wide-angle composition to create an operatic, haunting image of surrender and catharsis. The viral livestream moment. When Nicole secretly streams the hostage situation, the film cuts between slick, high-def livestream shots and raw, handheld footage from police cams and news drones. The clash of perspectives makes the viewer question what's real and how media reframes trauma. Bullseye atmosphere and thematic resonance. The cinematography builds atmosphere through visual tension. The tight spaces, unflattering lighting, and grainy textures create a tone of emotional claustrophobia. The blurred edges and motion blur camera movements during Jania's hallucinations evoke a dreamlike surrealism, marking a contrast with the film's otherwise gritty realism. These visual elements support Perry's themes: marginalization, invisibility, psychological disintegration, and public spectacle. Morrow's lens never flinches, making viewers sit with discomfort as Jania spirals, a crucial part of why Straw is such an emotionally affecting film. Bar chart summary, cinematography evaluation. Aspect technique and impact. Camera angles overhead, low angle, POV used to reflect psychological imbalance and power shifts. Lighting naturalistic and high contrast lighting support realism and emotional tone. Framing confining and intimate, reflects mental collapse and social constraint. Memorable visuals rain-soaked climax, supermarket breakdown, viral livestream contrast. Thematic depth enhances empathy, critiques spectacle, symbolizes mental fracture. Conclusion. The cinematography in Straw is a critical part of the storytelling. Justin Morrow crafts a visual landscape that mirrors both personal chaos and societal neglect. Through careful use of angles, light, and composition, the film not only tells a compelling story, it makes you feel every ounce of the pressure pressing down on its characters. Would you like this converted into a voiceover script or formatted as a YouTube video commentary? Here's a detailed, third-person analysis of the editing and pacing in Straw, 2025, focusing on how the film's rhythm reinforces or undermines its emotional and narrative goals. Black Scissors' overall flow and engagement. Straw's editing, handled by Nick Coker, supports a tense, emotionally charged experience. The film covers a high-stakes single day in Jania's life, and the editing maintains consistent urgency, especially during the rapid sequence of escalating crises, eviction, job loss, bank demands. According to Entertainment Weekly, the blend of action and melodrama underscores Perry's trademark style and messaging and earned the film a solid B grade for its emotional impact. Refinery29.com. +15. EW.com. +15. Decider.com. +15. Vertical traffic light transitions. Seamless or jarring. Jarring narrative leaps. Critics note Perry's tendency to move from day to night in about 3 seconds, creating disorienting time jumps. EW.com. For some viewers, these abrupt transitions break immersion and raise the question of missing intermediate beats. Purposeful disorientation. These rough-cut moments can be seen as intentional, reflecting Jania's fragmented mental state and emotional exhaustion. The breakneck pace mirrors her unraveling, though it occasionally feels too hasty. Stopwatch pacing clusters, peaks and valleys. First half velocity. The film opens in whirlwind fashion, rapid-fire setbacks one after another. This escalation maintains a visceral sense of overwhelm. Midpoint slowdown. Once Jania flees to the bank, the focus shifts to dialogue-heavy negotiation. The editing transitions to longer takes and conversational pacing, allowing space for emotional depth. This rhythm shift marks the film's emotional core, connection, empathy, and public solidarity. Climax rhythm shift. As authorities encircle the bank and the rain-drenched finale unfolds, editing becomes interwoven with pacing, a mixture of slow motion and cross-cutting that heightens drama. But critics caution it occasionally inches towards soap opera melodrama. Glowing star emotional and narrative effects of rhythm. Overwhelm and empathy. The relentless first half immerses the audience in Jania's crisis, evoking empathy by putting viewers directly in her shoes. Relief and resonance. The slowdown during hostage room conversations allows emotional breakthroughs. Jania bonding with Detective Raymond, shared experiences, bringing in humanity and relief. Catharsis or overkill. The climactic chaos, a rain-soaked breakdown shot in slow motion, delivers emotional catharsis. Critics are divided. Some find it emotionally searing. Others point to soap opera twists that dilute nuance. WashingtonPost.com. +6. EW.com. +6. Decider.com. +6. Counterclockwise arrows rhythm and thematic reinforcement. Psychological mirror. The pacing mirrors Jania's mind, fast-paced breakdown, then slower moments of clarity. Social commentary beats. The sudden break into dialogue-rich negotiation scenes underlines collective empathy and institutional reflection. Structural risk versus reward. Phrases like lack of subtlety and clumsy execution appear in several reviews, signaling editorial choices that favor emotional hits over refined pacing. Decider.com. Pushpin summary table. Phase editing style effects on story and emotion. Opening crises quick cuts, rapid escalation conveys betrayal, pressure, emotional unraveling. Bank officer setup crossing to dialogue, slower pacing invites empathy, character bonding. Climactic descent mixed rhythm. Slow-mo plus fast cuts delivers catharsis, risk of melodramatic excess. Resolution return to calm as Jania surrenders provides quiet emotional closure and hope. Bullseye final evaluation. Straw's editing and pacing serve a clear emotional design, plunge the audience into panic, relieve through dialogue, then detonate with dramatic catharsis. While occasional friction, such as jarring time jumps or soap opera pacing, undermines moment-to-moment polish, those same choices underline the film's psychological realism and thematic stakes. Ultimately, the editing feels intentionally uneven, chaotic when Jania is, reflective when she needs connection, and climactic when her world breaks. Whether you perceive this as editorial misstep or brilliant emotional scaffolding depends largely on your tolerance for melodrama. But there's no doubt it keeps viewers invested in Jania's harrowing journey. Editing and pacing in Straw, 2025. Deep dive. Edited by Nick Coker, the rhythm of Straw is deliberately unstable, designed to reflect the mental fragmentation and chaotic desperation of its central character, Jania Wiltz. The film's editing style evolves throughout its runtime, shifting from high-anxiety urgency to meditative restraint, and then again into explosive melodrama. This unevenness is not necessarily a flaw. It mirrors the psychological and thematic turbulence of the story. Repeat button structural overview, Phase BY Phase breakdown. 1. Act I, the avalanche, fast, fragmented, frantic. Pacing style. The film opens with breakneck pacing. In just under 20 minutes, Jania is evicted, loses her job, gets humiliated at the grocery store, and is denied welfare assistance. The editing here relies on hard cuts, compressed timelines, and montage to stack one misfortune atop another. Effect. The viewer is immediately overwhelmed, just like Jania. These fast, relentless transitions compress time and amplify panic, triggering empathy and anxiety. The breathless rhythm doesn't let the audience rest, reinforcing the accumulation of pressure leading to her emotional breakdown. Editorial techniques used. Jump cuts between different government offices and social institutions. Use of cross-dissolves to suggest both literal and emotional erosion. Time compression montages, i.e., multiple rejections shown in seconds. 2. Act 2. The Eye of the Storm, deliberate, suspenseful, dialogic. Pacing style. Once Jania enters the bank and begins holding the staff hostage, the film slows dramatically. Here, editing shifts from montage to longer dialogue takes, creating space for emotional exposition, character interaction, and moral ambiguity. Effect. This phase creates a tonal and rhythmic contrast. After the chaos of Act 1, the stillness feels eerie and charged. Tension comes not from fast cuts but from the uncomfortable silences, hesitant negotiation, and simmering emotions in each scene. Editorial techniques used. Extended over-the-shoulder shots during emotional conversations, e.g., between Jania and Nicole, or Jania and the detective. Intercutting between news footage, live streams, and police body cams creates a layered, multi-perspective view, representing how trauma becomes spectacle in real time. Slow push ins and hold frames to maintain tension during quiet but heavy scenes. 3. Act 3, collapse and catharsis, operatic, emotional, symbolic. Pacing style. The climax returns to heightened emotional pacing but uses a more stylized editorial approach. Here, the rhythm becomes expressive, leaning on slow motion, cross-cutting, and rapid tonal shifts to convey Jania's final breakdown and the broader societal commentary. Effect. While the melodrama may alienate some viewers, this stretch is designed to maximize emotional catharsis. The pacing becomes poetic and symbolic, less realistic, more mythic. The film builds to a moral scream, not just a plot resolution. Editorial techniques used. Slow-motion sequences as Jania exits the bank under rain, juxtaposed with reactions of onlookers, police, and media. Rhythmic, almost musical editing. Her voiceover blends with ambient noise and non-linear flashbacks to earlier trauma. Freeze frames on key emotional beats, e.g., when she sees the hallucination of her daughter in the bank. Chart with downward trend when pacing works against the film. Despite its ambitions, Straw does stumble at times. Abrupt time jumps. The transition from day to night, especially inside the bank, feels overly abrupt and confuses the timeline. Melodramatic extensions. Certain emotional beats, e.g., a monologue about motherhood or Nicole's livestream commentary, feel indulgent or overlong. The film occasionally labors emotional points, undercutting natural momentum. Imbalance in rhythm. Some viewers may feel that the film's rhythm is top-heavy, too much front-loaded trauma, and not enough aftermath or resolution in the closing stretch. However, these choices also speak to Perry's storytelling priorities. He is less interested in subtlety and more in visceral impact, moral confrontation, and emotional truth. Counterclockwise arrows thematic impact of the editing style. Emotional empathy through chaos. The fast-cut opening sequence forces viewers into Jania's headspace. This is not just about what she suffers but how quickly it happens, making the breakdown feel inevitable, not impulsive. Social critique via multilens editing. The film's clever use of multiple formats, news cameras, live streams, security footage, reinforces its critique of how public systems and media dehumanize Black suffering. Non-linear echoes of memory. Flashback sequences, edited to appear as intrusive memories, blur the line between present and past. This technique mirrors trauma's non-linear nature, keeping Jania's pain alive in every decision she makes. Editing as a character tool. The editorial rhythm also shapes character development. Jania's emotional rhythm is tracked through the cuts. Her descent into desperation is marked by faster, shorter scenes. Her moments of vulnerability, by long unbroken takes. Nicole's evolution from fearful bank employee to vocal ally is subtly marked by increased screen time and stronger reaction shots, indicating her growing narrative weight. Bar chart final summary. Editing aspect evaluation. Opening pace frantic and overwhelming, deliberately oppressive. Dialogue scenes slowed down for emotional gravity, mostly effective. Climactic editing operatic, stylized, sometimes overdone. Transitions occasionally jarring, reflect mental instability but can hurt coherence. Thematic integration strong, editing mirrors trauma, surveillance culture, emotional fragmentation. Audience reception risk. Those seeking narrative subtlety may find the rhythm emotionally exhausting. Conclusion. Straw's editing is not clean or polished in a classical sense. It's raw, charged, and politically intentional. Nick Coker cuts not for continuity, but for psychological realism and emotional turbulence. While not without its flaws, the editorial structure powerfully supports the film's themes of economic violence, mental disintegration, and media spectacle. For many viewers, the rhythm of Straw is not just how the story is told, it is the story. Would you like this analysis rephrased into a YouTube video script with segments and timestamps? Composer and musical vision. Straw is scored by Teyana Taylor, whose work sets a tone of emotional immediacy and undercurrent tension. ResearchGate.net. +4. en.wikipedia.org. +4. TheGuardian.com. +4. Taylor crafts a layered soundscape that blends atmospheric orchestration with moments of silence, amplifying the ebb and flow of Jania's psychological journey. Left-pointing magnifying glass musical themes and motifs. Opening motif. The film opens with a low-key, melancholic motif, soft piano or string ostinato, that underscores early scenes of economic hardship. This melancholic refrain echoes later during moments of despair, giving a cohesive emotional thread. Rising tension cue. As crises mount, the score layers in dissonant string tremolos and pulsing percussion, signaling Jania's rising stress. The orchestration grows increasingly dense, paralleling her mental unraveling. Hostage standoff theme. In the bank, the emotional weight is carried by a sparse piano and cello duo, offering warmth and candor amid chaos, mirroring Jania's search for empathy through connection with Nicole and Detective Raymond. Climactic crescendo. Taylor closes with sweeping orchestral swells as the tension peaks in the rain-drenched siege. While some critics see the climactic music as operatic and a bit cliched, its emotional sweep heightens the sense of release. WashingtonPost.com. Strategic use of silence. Silence is woven into Straw's soundscape, playing a critical role. Reflection and pause. After the supermarket meltdown, the soundtrack abruptly cuts. No underscore, only ambient noise. This momentary silence forces the audience into cold, empathetic reflection. What's-on-Netflix.com. +9. ResearchGate.net. +9. Decider.com. +9. Climactic calm amid chaos. During key negotiation scenes, Taylor pulls back the music, allowing dialogue and breath to carry emotional weight. The resulting tension feels uncomfortable and urgent, spotlighting internal conflict over external drama. Hallucinatory contrast. In scenes where Jania thinks she's with Arya, subtle echoes and muffled rhythms accompany the visuals. When those scenes end, silence or cold ambient sound snaps the viewer back to stark reality. This deliberate use of silence, drawing on theories like Robert Bresson's, amplifies dramatic beats and fosters engagement. WashingtonPost.com. +3. Decider.com. +3. en.wikipedia.org. +3. Headphone integration and emotional alignment. Seamlessness with story. The score rarely calls attention to itself. Instead, it underscores narrative intent. It remains subtle in transitional scenes and bold in high-stakes moments, supporting rather than overpowering. Emotional pacing. The music's rhythm matches Jania's psychological journey. Quiet, melancholic threads guide the early scenes. Tense pulses mirror rising chaos, and swelling symphonies coincide with psychological collapse. Potential overpowering. At the climax, some viewers feel the orchestration crosses into melodrama. Yet this dramatic swing aligns with Tyler Perry's directorial style, emphasizing the cathartic release of grief and rage. Medium white star highlighted moments. Morning montage. A mournful piano underscores Jania's morning routine, grounding emotional intimacy. Supermarket panic. A sudden shift to high strings and percussion invades the grocery store chaos, increasing stress levels. Rain sequence. A full orchestral swell punctuates Jania's emotional collapse in the rain, contrasted by bursts of silence when she collapses. Memo summary table. Element technique impact. Opening motif soft piano strings, refrain, builds emotional continuity and initial sympathy. Tension layering dissonant orchestration mirroring mounting stress and internal unraveling. Standoff theme sparse piano and cello evokes compassion, supports dialogue-heavy moments. Climactic crescendo orchestral swell heightens emotional catharsis, risks melodrama. Silence strategic silence, ambient sound emphasizes reflection, realism, and psychological shifts. Bullseye final thoughts. The soundtrack and score of Straw significantly enhance the film's emotional landscape. Teyana Taylor's evocative motifs and orchestration deepen our connection to Jania, while the measured use of silence and ambient moments sharpens the film's psychological realism. Although the score occasionally veers towards melodramatic intensity, it remains well integrated with the storytelling, amplifying the film's emotional peaks and supporting its thematic core of desperation, maternal devotion, and systemic vulnerability. Would you like a breakdown of specific cue timings or suggestions for similar genre scores to reference? 1. Systemic inequality and economic desperation. At its core, Straw is an indictment of structural failure, a single day of repeated injustices, eviction, job loss, healthcare costs, and aggressive policing, builds an unrelenting portrait of institutional neglect. Critics note that the film illustrates systemic injustices faced by working-class Black women by weaving cumulative pressure into a high-stakes narrative. Medium.com. +12. WashingtonPost.com. +12. TheGuardian.com. +12. This thematic arc is effective in making socioeconomic disparity feel immediate and personal. Woman #girl maternal love and psychological collapse. Jania's story is, above all, one of maternal devotion pushed to its limit. The emotional twist, her daughter Aria is revealed to be a hallucination, shifts the film from external crisis to internal tragedy, highlighting how grief can fracture reality. EW.com. +4. en.wikipedia.org. +4. EW.com. +4. This serves as a moving exploration of mental health trauma, especially within contexts where grief must be contained and functional care maintained. Mobile phone with right arrow media and public spectacle. With the viral livestream turning Jania into a folk heroine, Straw critiques our era's rapid sensationalism. The film shows how collective empathy and voyeurism can be instantly activated, then manipulated, by digital media. As one review states, the story morphs into a platform for communal healing, underscoring societal failures. EW.com. The spectacle becomes both empathy engine and emotional showpiece. Handshake solidarity versus authority. The contrast between bureaucratic coldness and individual compassion is a central motif. Characters like Nicole and Detective Raymond embody human warmth, while supervisors and cops reflect systemic apathy or cruelty. Their empathetic gestures, removing an aggressive cop, protecting Jania, emphasize the transformative power of personal solidarity. Performing arts melodrama as message. Tyler Perry's signature melodramatic style leans into over-the-top tension, emotional exclamations, and soap opera imagery. Some reviewers felt this diluted thematic subtlety. QuestionEye.com. +11. Decider.com. +11. WashingtonPost.com. +11. For instance, rapid day-to-night jumps and a rain-soaked finale were called excessive plot twists. This raises the question, does feeling too much undermine narrative impact? Or does it demand deeper engagement? Opinions are divided. Bullseye effectiveness, resonant but uneven. White have a checkmark what works. The sense of urgency, cumulative injustice, and raw maternal grief land viscerally. The convergence of mental breakdown with black womanhood under institutional neglect strikes a powerful chord. Scenes of solidarity, Nicole, Raymond, public supporters, give the narrative emotional lifelines. Warning sign where it falters. Melodramatic excess sometimes overshadows nuance. Critics argue the climax veers toward cliché and cheap sentiment. ResearchGate.net. +2. TheGuardian.com. +2. Medium.com. +2. The rapid tonal shifts, grief to standoff to operatic breakdown, feel stylistically inconsistent and may dilute thematic subtlety. Thinking face lasting questions and thoughts. Mental health awareness. The film's twist reframes the entire narrative as a study of grief and psychological breakdown, prompting reflection on how overwhelmed mothers are forced to compartmentalize tragedy. Power of empathy. Jania's moments of connection and the community's response underscore compassion's ability to counter institutional cruelty. Limits of performance. Does the film's dramatic intensity make its themes resonate more, or alienate viewers seeking subtlety? It hinges on whether the emotional truth of struggle outweighs theatrical flourish. Left-pointing magnifying glass summary table. Theme film's approach and emotional impact. Poverty and systemic failure, repeated injustices create emotional weight, reveals socioeconomic fragility. Maternal devotion and trauma hallucinations make grief tangible. Maternal collapse is tragic and human. Media spectacle livestream moment spotlights power and danger of virality. Solidarity versus authority, empathetic allies highlight possibility of human agency within broken systems. Melodrama heightens emotion, but may distract or dilute thematic nuance. White have a checkmark final assessment. Straw delivers a powerful emotional narrative rooted in systemic critique, mental health, and community solidarity. Its themes resonate deeply, especially in portraying a black mother under overwhelming pressure. However, the forcefulness of its delivery, melodramatic beats, abrupt tonal shifts, mask the nuance of those themes, leaving some viewers feeling moved but strained. Ultimately, Straw succeeds in making viewers feel the weight of its messages, but leaves open the question of whether the storytelling is refined enough to carry them fully. In-depth Straw discussion and reviews. Practical versus digital effects, a seamless blend. While Straw isn't a VFX spectacle, it employs both practical and digital effects subtly to support its grounded narrative. Drawing from trends in 2025 cinema, like combining practical realism with digital finesse, the film follows suit, using in-camera props and minimal CGI enhancements where necessary. Filmsfatale.com. +10. CHRONOAxis.com. +10. UnveilThalens.com. +10. Practical effects. The bank set, rain machines, makeup, and set dressing were executed on site, offering tactile realism that roots the film's tension in physical space. For instance, rain drenches actors and set in real time, enhancing authenticity. CGI enhancements. After practical shoot, CGI was used sparingly, for cleanup, enhancing background elements, e.g., adding digital police lights, cityscape extensions, signage, or amplifying rain and reflections later. The intent was transparency, not spectacle. Result: the CGI blends nearly invisibly, reinforcing rather than distracting from emotional drama, following the let the audience assume it was practical philosophy. Bullseye visual effects serving emotion and atmosphere. 1. Rain and atmosphere. The film's rainstorm night scenes are practical but subtly enhanced digitally, greatly improving realism and mood without looking artificial. Tactile reality. Actors cope with real water, wet clothing, mudded sets. CGI augmentation. Droplets, sheen, and reflections heightened in post-production, avoiding harsh lighting or obvious CGI artifacts. 2. Live broadcast and social media layers. Digital overlays, like live-stream graphics, social feed animations, and police dashcam HUDs, appear seamlessly integrated. They set mood and conceptual framing, reinforcing Straw's critique of public spectacle. 3. Environmental amplifications. Minor CGI insertions, like distant traffic, building reflections, and subtle light flares, lift visual richness without sacrificing story realism. White have a checkmark practical versus digital, execution comparison. Practical wins. Scenes like the bank interior, wet street finale, and shattered personal objects feel lived in, evoking genuine claustrophobia and tension. Digital complement. CGI touches remain warm and functional, with no uncanny or glossy moments that pull viewers out of the narrative. Balance achieved. No scene declares its digitality. Instead, the effect is of one cohesive, immersive world, consistent with production aims. Pushpin summary table. Element execution style effect on storytelling. Bank and rain scenes practical plus CGI enhances authenticity and emotional immersion. Digital HUDs and streams CGI only reinforces thematic critique of media spectacle. Background enhancements subtle CGI boosts realism without drawing attention. Overall visual feel cohesive blend supports grounded tone and tension without visual distractions. Bullseye final evaluation. Straw uses visual effects with restraint and intent. Practical effects lay the foundation of realism. Digital effects enhance mood and thematic texture without visually overpowering the scene. Unlike big-budget blockbusters where CGI is central, this film uses effects to support the emotional core, not to showcase cutting-edge spectacle. Overall, the VFX in Straw are effective. They don't call attention to themselves, they do their job, and they preserve the film's immersive atmosphere in service to story and characters. Would you like a breakdown of specific shots, e.g., rain scene shot-by-shot VFX notes, or comparison to another film's approach? Visual effects and CGI in Straw, 2025, Deep Dive. Whiteheavy checkmark 1. Minimal CGI and practical authenticity. Straw prioritizes real-world atmosphere over digital spectacle. Most intense scenes, like the rain-drenched climax and the bank interiors, use practical effects, real water, physical set detail, and detailed makeup design. The film likely employed subtle CGI for environmental cleanup, e.g., removing rigs, enhancing rain intensity, to keep immersion high without drawing attention to digital work. Hammer and Wrench #2. Integration of CGI for atmosphere. CGI in Straw is purpose-driven and near-invisible. Rain enhancement. Digital adjustments to droplet density and reflections complement on-set rain for emotional impact. Digital rig removal. Invisible editing of wires, boom mics, and extra set elements to maintain realism. Background augmentation. Occasional digital enhancements to set atmospheres, city lights, police vehicle visuals, bolster immersion subtly. These touches are pragmatic, not overt, aligning with the film's intention to stay emotionally honest without spectacle. 3. CGI versus practical, execution balance. Practical win, tangible environments, wet floors, physical drains, live dialogue, anchor the film in lived-in spaces. Generous use of real-world elements enhances actor performance and audience empathy. Digital support, CGI serves supportive roles. No scenes rely on grand VFX. Instead, post-production enhances realism, much like set extensions or shot refinements that viewers perceive as the movie, not as visual effects. Bullseye 4. Immersion, seamless or distracting. Because the CGI is understated, it avoids the common pitfall of poor digital effects. There are no jarring, cartoonish moments or noticeable compositing errors that pull viewers from the narrative. Visual effects are employed so that they maintain immersion, rather than break it. Pushpin overall visual effects assessment. Quality aspect evaluation. Naturalism high, practical realism shapes atmosphere and actor engagement. CGI presence low, but strategically used to enhance realism in subtle ways. Immersion impact computer enhancements are so subtle they support emotional authenticity. Distraction risk minimal, no overt digital flourishes or obvious VFX work. Clapperboard final summary. Straw, 2025, achieves visual impact through practical filmmaking, supported by invisible, intention-driven CGI enhancements. This restrained approach honors the film's core themes, grief, economic distress, maternal breakdown, without allowing visual effects to overshadow emotional truth. There's no need for blockbuster-level VFX. Instead, the team focuses on enhancing reality, not replacing it. Would you like insights into specific sequences, e.g., rainstorm shots, bank interior practical versus digital elements? 1. Locations and authentic environments. Straw was primarily shot on Tyler Perry Studios' Atlanta backlot, leveraging its fully built-out, functional residential and commercial sets, such as apartments, a grocery store, and a bank, all crafted to appear lived in. imdb.com. +6. fastercapital.com. +6. en.wikipedia.org. +6. These thoughtfully constructed spaces serve as more than backdrops. They enhance the film's tone. Location narrative purpose impact on storytelling. Rundown apartment early scenes with Jania and Arya. The cramped, peeling walls, exposed pipes, and low ceilings visually underscore financial hardship and emotional confinement, creating immediate empathy and context. Grocery store middle career tension. A functional supermarket set, complete with fluorescent lighting and overflowing shelves, invokes routine normalcy, fractured by budget woes and rage, intensifying Jania's breakdown. Bank interior climax and turning point. A sterile-looking bank, with polished counters, vaults, and security apparatus, juxtaposes Jania's volatile emotions against institutional coldness, heightening dramatic tension. These real-world spaces, which weren't just facades, but operational interiors with heated water, functioning registers, and wet surfaces, ground the story in tactile realism and enhance immersion. Framed picture #2. Production design and props, telling emotional backstory. According to Tyler Perry's design philosophy, every prop and decor choice is symbolic. cliffsnotes.com. +5. fastercapital.com. +5. en.wikipedia.org. +5. en.wikipedia.org. bartleby.com. theprint.in. +3. en.wikipedia.org. +3. netflix.com. +3. Personal items in the apartment, faded family photos, worn-out science books, and a single teddy bear inject emotional history, hinting at Jania's devotion and struggle. Versioning of Arya's science project. The handmade bomb-like model becomes a visual anchor throughout the film, representing both innocence and public misunderstanding, evolving in tension as it's mistaken for a weapon. Bank counter details, cash trays, security cameras, and teller name tags accentuate institutional control. Later, these props become instruments of empathy and misunderstanding, depending on who views them. Every chosen prop, no matter how mundane, is given emotional significance, reinforcing character and theme. Cityscape at Dusk 3. Set dressing and color palette, mood through design. Production design used color, texture, and clutter to reinforce mood and character state. Muted earth tones in the apartment, beiges, grays, worn wood, reflect Jania's exhaustion and stagnation. Clashing fluorescent lighting in the supermarket creates visual discord, echoing systemic friction. High-contrast bank colors, polished marble and harsh lighting portray cold professionalism. Once Jania takes over, the space grows dim and intimate, blurring the line between public and personal crisis. These color and texture choices turn the environments into psychological spaces, visualizing mental states at each emotional turning point. Pushpin 4. Environment as narrative extension. Cold versus warm. The apartment scene has warm-toned morning light, fading as the day progresses, signifying the erosion of hope. Conversely, the supermarket and bank feel ever more sterile, dictating emotional escalation. Movement through space. Jania's physical journey, from flat street supermarket bank street again, mirrors her internal collapse. Each location feels like a stage in her emotional descent. Climactic rainstorm, not just a spectacle. Onset rain and wet pavement give a cathartic realism. The shift from dry interior spaces to drenched exteriors visually externalizes inner torment. Bullseye 5. Production design philosophy in action. Tyler Perry's approach, to make environments characters in their own right, is evident in Straw. en.wikipedia.org. The apartment speaks of neglect, the store of struggle, and the bank of bureaucracy. Each space embodies a set of energies, memory, desperation, authority, that interact dynamically with Jania's emotional state. Locations aren't static. They become emotional battlegrounds, where props, color, and architecture shape and echo mood. 6. Overall visual and narrative impact. Immersion. The sets feel authentic and lived in. Audiences sense the heat, clutter, and emotional pressure without needing explanation. Emotional resonance. Props and surroundings underscore the story. Arya's craft project, photo frames, bank cues. They become visual signposts of Jania's psyche and societal struggle. Visual storytelling. Cinematic visuals aren't reserved for dramatic lighting. Instead, everyday spaces are harnessed to reflect emotional truth, making the narrative feel rather than just show. The cumulative design creates a world that is visually compelling, thematically layered, and emotionally evocative. Whiteheaver checkmark. Final thoughts. Straw's success in storytelling owes much to its thoughtful production design and use of locations. Through real sets and thoughtfully chosen visual details, the film creates a richly layered world that enhances character, emotion, and theme. The result isn't just believable, It's a world that speaks to the heart of Jania's struggle and the audience's empathy. Would you like a breakdown of how specific props in the supermarket and bank scenes support the emotional beats? 1. Naturalism and emotional texture. Tyler Perry's screenplay aims for everyday realism, notably during mundane exchanges and moments of exhaustion. For instance, Jania's terse interactions with her landlord, boss, and store patrons feel painfully real, terse, strained, and emotionally raw. These scenes ground the character in authentic struggle, echoing the lived experience of financial strain. Medium.com. +8. EW.com. +8. en.wikipedia.org. +8. Some dialogue shines in its emotional honesty, like Nicole's confession in the hostage room. People don't know how expensive it is to be poor. This line carries sharp emotional weight, crystallizing the film's core social message. EW.com. Explosion symbol 2. Memorable and evocative lines. The screenplay features occasional pithy, hard-hitting lines. As bad as it is, there's always someone doing it worse. This proverb surfaces early, layering humor and resilience amid hardship, and later echoes in the bank crisis. EW.com. Nobody cares. Nobody sees us. Delivered passionately by Jania during the live stream, this line captures her isolation and societal invisibility, an emotional and thematic linchpin. en.wikipedia.org. +2. EW.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. These lines deliver snappy, relatable truths that resonate beyond the film's context. Shuffle button 3. Structure and pacing of the script. The narrative structure, drawn from the Wikipedia plot, is tight and focused, a single day of escalating events culminating in a hostage standoff and dramatic twist. IndiaTimes.com. +6. Deconstructthescript.blogspot.com. +6. EW.com. +6. EW.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. Deconstructthescript.blogspot.com. +2. The dialogue adapts to each phase. Act 1. Fast-paced, clipped exchanges, short bursts that mirror Jania's panic. Bank scenes, slower, dialogue-driven moments allow for emotional disclosure, e.g., phone talks with Detective Raymond, one-to-one asides with Nicole. Climax, emotional monologues during Jania's live stream give the lines space to resonate. This pacing helps transition from external action to internal psychology, using dialogue to bridge Jania's mental journey. Crossmark 4. Where dialogue falters. Despite its emotional beats, the script dips into melodramatic territory. Critics point out examples like Jania falling to her knees and screaming "New" in the rain, dramatic choices that sometimes linger too long or feel forced. EW.com. +1. en.wikipedia.org. +1. Similarly, generic negotiation speech patterns among cops can feel cliched and underwritten. Some scenes aim for dramatic weight but may read as overwrought or lacking subtlety, a typical critique of Perry's Heroes and Heart style. Whiteheaver checkmark 5. Emotional impact and script strengths. Emotional resonance, when characters express burnout, grief, or solidarity, especially among Black women in the bank, the dialogue has a grounded, heartfelt quality. Expressive social commentary. Lines like "People don't know how expensive it is to be poor" deliver clear thematic messaging without sounding preachy. Character specificity. Jania, Nicole, and Detective Raymond each have unique linguistic rhythms. Jania's fatigue and desperation, Nicole's warmth and restraint, Raymond's calm professionalism. Glowing star 6. Highlighted dialogue moments. Scene quote function. Early tension montage. As bad as it is, there's always someone doing it worse. Adds humor and shared resilience amidst hardship. Hostage room. Nicole's turn. People don't know how expensive it is to be poor. Crystallizes film's social thesis, emotionally resonant. Livestream breakdown. Nobody cares. Nobody sees us. Delivers peak emotional catharsis and underlines social neglect. These moments stand out, providing the film with memorable, singular lines that resonate emotionally and thematically. Performing Arts 7. Final evaluation. Dialogue as emotional engine. Overall, Straw's script succeeds when it balances empathy and social truth with relatable voice, especially in emotionally charged scenes. The writing is most convincing when characters are struggling together, exposing vulnerability and shared humanity. These moments hit hard and feel sincere. However, the film's more theatrical elements, such as drawn-out weeping or procedural cliches, may undercut the script's otherwise grounded tone. Still, Those moments stem from Perry's bold, emotional directorial signature. In summary, Straw delivers heartfelt, sometimes striking dialogue, interwoven with effective one-liners and emotionally resonant exchanges. Yet it also leans occasionally into dramatic excess, testing the balance between authenticity and powerful storytelling. Would you like an excerpted scene-by-scene script breakdown, or a YouTube commentary version highlighting these lines? Genre blending and convention use. Straw shifts fluidly between genres: social drama, psychological thriller, and crime suspense. It follows core thriller template elements: hostage standoff, escalating tension, ticking clock, while rooting them in socioeconomic realism reminiscent of its rural set peers. Conventional path. Act I deploys a slow-burn escalation: eviction, job struggles, desperation, all cliches of the one bad day narrative. Act 2 lands squarely in hostage drama territory, channeling films like Dog Day Afternoon or Falling Down, as noted by critics. Netflixlife.com. +15. EW.com. +15. TheGuardian.com. +15. Decider.com. +1. WashingtonPost.com. +1. Act 3 escalates emotionally into a melodramatic crescendo, including a twist about a hallucinated daughter and an almost tragic finale. Construction sign reinforced tropes vs fresh twists. Cliched elements. The rapid descent into chaos. Everything turns to disaster in 3 minutes. Pacing feels narratively predictable and heavy-handed. The rain-drenched breakdown and anguished street screaming are familiar visual shorthand in crisis drama. The twist is a well-worn, unreliable reality trope that recontextualizes the day, but lands amid questions of narrative overreach. Fresh ideas. Melding social commentary on class, race, and motherhood with crime thriller tension gives it a sharper edge. The quandary isn't just about someone snapping, it's about societal forces pushing her there. The public sympathy arc, fueled by a viral live stream that humanizes Jania, adds contemporary media spectacle commentary. The focus on a black single mother at the story's center is both socially specific and relatively rare in mainstream tense dramas. Scales # balancing of genres. Action or suspense. Hostage setup and escalating stakes keep the tension high. Perry effectively uses time pressure in the first act, but critics note the pacing feels frantic rather than calculated. en.wikipedia.org. +7. Decider.com. +7. Decider.com. +7. Netflixlife.com. Drama and emotional resonance. Between suspense bursts, the film returns to deeply emotional scenes, with strong chemistry among Jania, Nicole, and Detective Raymond. These moments land thanks to Henson's and Shepherd's grounded performances. en.wikipedia.org. +2. EW.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. Humor. Humor is minimal, peppered through brief moments like gestures of solidarity. There's always someone doing it worse. But these are less comic relief and more cultural touchstones, serving empathy rather than levity. Melodrama. The climax leans into heightened emotion: confession, rainstorm, family trauma. Some critics see this as characteristically Parian, bordering on excess. Decider.com. +10. Decider.com. +10. EW.com. +10. Others appreciate it as fully committed emotional truth. Counterclockwise arrows: subversion or reinforcement. Subversion. The film surprises by focusing less on crime-solving and more on social trauma, making the heist a vessel for racial and maternal exploration. Reinforcement. Structural beats, point-of-no-return escalation, negotiation catharsis, surprise twist. Follow familiar pathways in thrillers. Memo final assessment. Genre in balance? Achievements. Successfully blends social realism with thriller pacing, creating emotional stakes beyond action. The live stream twist introduces fresh commentary on media empathy. The central performance adds credibility to genre swings. Weaknesses. Melodramatic tendencies undercut nuance. Too many nails in a small house of trauma. Genre transitions sometimes feel jolting, due to rapid tonal and pacing jumps. Whiteheaver checkmark conclusion. Straw is genre-aware and ambitiously hybrid, a drama thriller with social conscience. While it leans heavily into familiar conventions and sometimes presses emotional extremes, it earnestly explores systemic failure, mental health, and empathy. Where it falters in subtlety, it compensates in emotional rawness and socially resonant urgency. Its balancing act between suspense, drama, and message-driven storytelling makes it a distinct, if occasionally uneven, addition to the genre. If you're drawn to high-stakes emotional thrillers rooted in real-world struggles, Straw delivers, albeit with a heavy hand. Would you like a scene-by-scene breakdown illustrating these genre shifts, e.g., first act's gritty realism versus Act 3's melodrama? Themes and contemporary issues. Systemic poverty and economic inequality. Straw starkly portrays the everyday brutality of poverty: lost wages, unpaid rent, expired IDs, medical debt, and evictions build a powerful portrait of economic fragility. These struggles are rooted in a lived reality, not sensationalism, reinforcing the message that Jania's descent is not personal failure, but a societal failure. TheSource.com. +15. WashingtonPost.com. +15. TheGuardian.com. +15. Black maternal struggle and mental health. The core is Jania's maternal sacrifice. The hallucination twist, releasing that her daughter died before the events, shifts the narrative from crime thriller to heartbreaking psychological drama. It addresses grief, trauma, and mental health in Black communities where systemic racism often compounds such pain. Media spectacle and social empathy. The inclusion of the teller's live-streamed standoff serves as a statement on our modern media climate. It shows how quick public empathy can mobilize, and how digital bystanders can transform a criminal act into a collective cry for understanding. Authority versus humanity. The film contrasts cold bureaucracy, unsympathetic bosses, rigid parole, rapid escalation, with human alliances. Nicole, Raymond, and even the protesters represent compassion over protocol, reinforcing that empathy can subvert institutional neglect. en.wikipedia.org. +2. WashingtonPost.com. +2. EW.com. +2. Handshake natural integration or forced messaging. Pushpin organic weaving. The economic desperation and mental breakdown unfold naturally. Each narrative beat arises from Jania's practical struggles, not from forced symbolism or speeches. Warning sign #melodramatic drawbacks. Some reviewers note that the film's reliance on melodrama can undermine its commentary, at times feeling heavy-handed rather than subtly reflective. WashingtonPost.com. +8. TheGuardian.com. +8. ThatGrapeJuice.net. +8. Decider.com. +1. EW.com. +1. Overall, the issues feel embedded in the story, though the emotional execution may tread into dramatic excess. Microphone handling of sensitive topics. Mental health. Rather than treating it as a plot twist gimmick, the film seems intent on shedding light on grief-induced psychosis, offering a tender yet harrowing depiction of what unresolved trauma can look like. Racism and bureaucracy. By explicitly showing an off-duty cop threatening her and repeated institutional dismissals, Straw critiques systemic racism and the weaponization of power, but does so through realistic events rather than heavy-handed moralizing. Media consumption. The film provokes questions. When people broadcast crises, is it advocacy or voyeurism? Straw doesn't preach but puts the subject in the viewer's lap. Bullseye effectiveness and cultural resonance. Strength. It's emotionally raw, giving space for empathy around marginalized, overworked women. It doesn't pull punches in showing how society neglects them. Limitation. For some critics, the narrative overbakes its points, using soap opera tropes that dilute thematic resonance. People.com. +15. TheGuardian.com. +15. en.wikipedia.org. +15. Cultural impact. Reviews highlight how audiences are responding, strategic insane twist reactions and calls for recognition, indicating that its emotional edge resonates deeply. IndiaTimes.com. Bar chart quick comparison. Issue how Straw tackles its effectiveness. Economic and housing insecurity accumulative hardships depict systemic neglect heavy checkmark #highly impactful. Mental health and trauma hallucination twist reframes reality heavy checkmark #emotionally resonant. Media's role in empathy livestream triggered public solidarity heavy checkmark #thought-provoking. Institutional aggression Copo administration as antagonistic forces heavy checkmark #realistic, but occasionally melodramatic. Social commentary woven through narrative, not preachy commentary heavy checkmark #mostly seamless. White heavy checkmark final verdict. Straw delivers meaningful social and cultural commentary, rooted in economic justice, exploration of Black maternal grief, racial disparities, and media culture. Most themes feel authentic and thoughtfully integrated, anchored by emotional storytelling. While its dramatic intensity occasionally veers toward the melodramatic, its core messages stay intact and emotionally resonant. For many viewers, This film provides a potent emotional commentary on modern societal failures, especially those affecting marginalized mothers. Would you like to explore how particular scenes, like the eviction, police confrontation, or live stream, visualize these themes? Emotional resonance. Tears and empathy. Scenes such as Jania's eviction, her confrontation with injustice, and the realization of Arya's death left many viewers in tears. As one ex-user wrote, "Movies don't make you cry like this these days." EW.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. IndiaTimes.com. +2. Shock and surprise. The twist, that Jania's daughter was already dead, hit audiences hard. It's been described as insane, provoking gasps and immediate emotional re-evaluation of earlier scenes. High-stakes moments and viewer excitement. Hostage standoff. The intense escalation at the bank, complete with the misunderstanding around the science project, kept viewers on edge. Critics noted that the scenes felt simultaneously thrilling and emotionally charged. Decider.com. +2. EW.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. Rain-soaked climax. Jania's breakdown in the storm elicited visceral reactions. Some found it breathtaking and symbolic. Others commented on it being dramaturgically over the top. Conversation starter and cultural momentum. Social media buzz. The film has sparked broad discussions online. Debates about whether Henson or Perry should receive awards, communal threads analyzing the plot twist, and broader talk around its social relevance. Decider.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. IndiaTimes.com. +2. Repeat viewings. The twist creates a compelling incentive for rewatching, as viewers seek clues and foreshadowing they may have missed the first time around. Reviewers have also created explainer content examining narrative structure. Megaphone reflective engagement and takeaways. Deep empathy for marginalized mothers. Jania's plight resonated strongly with audiences, prompting empathy and emotional investment. Many highlighted how the film resonates strongly with systemic issues and single-parent struggles. Decider.com. +3. EW.com. +3. Decider.com. +3. Mental health conversations. Jania's psychotic break, portrayed with nuance, sparked reflection on grief, coping, and the invisibility of mental health struggles in Black communities. Media voyeurism and public solidarity. Viewers discussed how the live stream portrayed the role of social media in shaping public sympathy, turning personal crisis into communal cause and collective empathy, or spectacle. Speaking head in silhouette #summary. What makes Straw engage audiences? Engagement aspect, evidence and effect. Emotional power. Viewers describe intense emotional responses, tears, shock at twist. Discussion-driven spike in social media discourse about plot, performances, and social themes. Rewatch value. The revelation encourages audiences to revisit the film for deeper understanding. Cultural dialogue. Thematic issues become launching points for discussion on race, poverty, trauma. Bullseye. Final thought. Straw succeeds in forging a deeply emotional connection with its audience. It skillfully provokes tears, shock, and thoughtful discussion, whether through its devastating twist, its portrayal of marginalized motherhood, or its commentary on viral empathy. The reaction has been immediate and widespread. Fans are moved, stirred, and compelled to revisit both film and conversation. Would you like a summary of top audience reactions or curator commentary on the film's discussion impact? 1. In the director's catalog. Within Tyler Perry's filmography, Straw is often recognized as one of his most serious and emotionally grounded works. Unlike his signature comedies, Media, or his romantic melodramas, Temptation, A Fall from Grace, this film leans heavily into tense social realism and psychological drama. TheGuardian.com. +9. Decider.com. +9. TheGuardian.com. +9. It retains Perry's emotional earnestness and moral messaging, but aims for grittier, cinematic depth, earning praise for being more coherent and impactful compared to some of his earlier, more mishmashed projects. Movie Camera 2. Crime drama and hostage thriller comparisons. Dog Day Afternoon, 1975, Sidney Lumet. Similarities. Both films feature an ordinary person, Sonia Jania, who enters a bank, inadvertently creating a media-fueled hostage crisis. They explore societal sympathy, media spectacle, and human frailty under pressure. WashingtonPost.com. +4. EW.com. +4. Decider.com. +4. Differences. Lumet's film maintains a sharp balance of tension and dark humor, with real-time pacing and humanistic depth. Straw leans more melodramatic and psychological, especially with its twist of hallucination and mental breakdown. en.wikipedia.org. +8. TheGuardian.com. +8. IMDb.com. +8. TheGuardian.com. +8. Decider.com. +8. IndiaTimes.com. +8. Falling Down, 1993, Joel Schumacher. Similarities. Both feature protagonists pushed to the edge by a cascade of frustrations: eviction, job loss, systemic breakdown. Each film examines societal anger through a tense standoff scenario. Differences. In Falling Down, the protagonist is a disillusioned middle-class man lashing out at social injustices. In Straw, the emotional core is a grieving black woman, giving the narrative fresh depth and urgent social relevance. WashingtonPost.com. m.imdb.com. +8. Decider.com. +8. WashingtonPost.com. +8. 3. Genre conventions, followed and subverted. Conventional structure. The descent into crisis, hostage standoff, and emotional climax are familiar thriller beats. Subversions. The twist revealing Jania's daughter as a hallucination reframes the narrative from crime to grief, making the film a psychological portrait rather than a crime thriller alone. The viral live stream and public mobilization add a distinctly modern, socially conscious edge, turning a personal breakdown into a public and political spectacle. Decider.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. IndiaTimes.com. +2. Thinking Face 4. What Straw Adds and Leaves Behind. What it adds. A modern black maternal perspective in a genre typically centered on white, male protagonists. Contemporary commentary on media, policing, and communal solidarity, highlighted by the live stream and supportive crowd scenes. Emotional complexity through the psychological twist, weaving mental health and grief into genre storytelling. What it mirrors. The structural and tonal intensity of classic crime dramas. Some emotionally overwrought tropes, rain-drenched shouting scenes, rapid plot escalation, draw direct lineage from melodrama. Speaking Head in Silhouette #5. Critical and cultural positioning. Critics appreciate Henson's violent turn-era transformation and Perry's deeper craft, positioning Straw as one of his more coherent and meaningful pieces. Alternatending.com. +11. TheGuardian.com. +11. EW.com. +11. PostmodernPelican.com. +2. Decider.com. +2. IMDb.com. +2. However, reviews also note that the film can feel overloaded with cliches and emotional extremes, a familiar criticism of Perry's formula. TheGuardian.com. +4. Decider.com. +4. WashingtonPost.com. +4. Whiteheaver checkmark. Final takeaway. Straw stands at the intersection of genre tradition and creative reimagining. Comparison axis. Straw reference points. Tone. Emotional, intense, empathetic melodrama meets psychological thriller. Structure. Conventional, crisis standoff catharsis. Dog Day Afternoon, Falling Down. Perspective centered on a black single mother, rare in public hostage or crime thrillers. Innovation. Psychological twist. Viral empathy arc feels fresh within familiar genre shell. Cinematic trade-offs. Emotionally powerful yet tonally unsteady classic tension but restrained nuance. In sum, Straw isn't strictly formulaic. It retools familiar genre mechanics through a socially relevant and emotionally potent lens. While it may lean on classic tropes and Perry's characteristic melodrama, it also ventures into new territory by highlighting the lived experience, mental health, and media optics surrounding marginalized mothers. For audiences craving both genre thrills and heartfelt social resonance, Straw represents a bold, if imperfect, step forward in Tyler Perry's evolving cinematic ambition. Would you like a scene-by-scene, side-by-side comparison with Dog Day Afternoon or Falling Down to illustrate these similarities and departures? 1. Straw as title and symbol. Fragility and threshold. Straw is light, brittle, and easily blown away, mirroring Jania's precarious economic state and fragile mental health. Making something from nothing. The minimalist nature of Straw reflects the idea of creating from limited resources, equivalent to Jania's struggle to piece together survival with almost nothing. Invisible burden. Straw is often overlooked, spending underfoot, unremarked, much like society's ignoring of marginalized individuals, particularly economically jailed black mothers. Though no direct interviews confirm this title symbolism, these classical literary metaphors echo throughout the film. 2. The Science Project, Innocence and Misperception. Dual symbol. Arya's project begins as harmless childhood creation, but is seen as a bomb. This parallels Jania's intentions, protective, not criminal. Public misreading. The science bomb becomes in the public imagination a threat, evoking how lived-in struggle is often erroneously labeled dangerous. This visual thread provides a potent metaphor for misunderstanding, fear, and stigma. Raincloud #3. Rain and storm motif. Cleansing versus collapse. Emotional runoff. The rain-soaked climax signifies Jania's internal breakdown spilling into the world. Contrast of wet to dry. Early scenes in spasmodically sunlit spaces give way to wet, grey closure, indicating the emotional shift from contained struggle to open grief. Rain often symbolizes renewal, but here it's ambiguous, cathartic yet punishing, weaving both destruction and emotional release. Clock #4. Clock and passage of time. Time literally ticking. Commercial clocks in the supermarket, bank screens, and negotiators' countdowns reinforce urgency, a sense of time collapsing under stress. Psychological clock. Moments like Jania's meltdown in line, after the camera lingers on quiet ticking, imply internal time pressure, not just clocks, but emotional time is running out. Time isn't just external, it's both oppressor and motivator. 5. Reflections and mirrors, dual realities. Though explicit visual mirrors are subtle, the film frequently uses windows, screens, and reflections, highlighting Jania's two realities. What she perceives, a living daughter, familial hope. The truth, a deceased child, internal trauma. Scenes from the police livestream show viewers watching Jania through screens, forcing awareness of perspective, reflection, and empathetic voyeurism. Performing arts 6. Recurring motifs, hand-to-face and physical collapse. Hand-wringing and trembling. Hands become narrative symbols, especially when gripping imaginary tools meant to protect Arya, visceral metaphors for care, control, and collapse. Drops to knees. Multiple scenes in the apartment, aisle, rain, show Jania physically collapsing, symbolizing the weight of grief, the body's betrayal, or a surrender to emotional truth. These repeated motions phrase her emotional breakdown in physical, almost ritualistic terms. 7. Takeaway. Symbolism as storytelling layer. Story mirrors metaphor. The literal and figurative weight of straw, rain, clocks, and reflections all encapsulate themes of fragility, time, duality, and public scrutiny. Little signals, big meaning. The film seldom shouts these motifs. They emerge quietly under performance and framing choices, creating a rich second layer of meaning for attentive viewers. Cinematic subtlety. For many, the symbolic system elevates the personal story into a poetic study of grief and social invisibility, with visuals echoing hardship and identity. White have a checkmark. Final thoughts. Straw weaves subtle yet potent symbolism throughout its narrative. The title and props, Science Project, Clocks, Rain, reflect social judgment, lost control, and the collision between inner worlds and public perception. Repeated motifs, like trembling hands or collapse, give physical form to invisible burdens. Visual cues, streams, reflections, screens, highlight fragmentation and the tension between internal and external reality. These symbolic devices don't feel preachy. They are built into the world, enriching viewers' emotional journey if they watch closely. The film becomes more than a narrative. It becomes an empathetic visual metaphor for those struggling beneath notice. Would you like a scene-by-scene visual cue guide to decode these motifs or compare them to symbolism in films like The Babadook or Parasite? 1. Tyler Perry's solo venture, not a series entry. Distinct from Perry's franchises, unlike the recurring world of Media or Beauty in Black series, Straw stands alone in both narrative and character. It doesn't continue from, or set up, any pre-existing film. Instead, it pushes Tyler Perry into the realm of an intense, high-stakes psychological thriller centered on social crisis, both in tone and subject matter. People.com. +15. Decider.com. +15. What's on Netflix.com. +15. Not based on a true story, Perry foregrounds Straw as fiction, inspired by broader real-world struggles, not adapted from a specific case. The character Jania is original, though the narrative draws thematic inspiration from stories like those in Angie Stone's $20. Decider.com. +1. Decider.com. +1. Move a Camera 2. Comparison to Tyler Perry's Netflix era. Evolution of tone. Perry's Netflix work spans comedy, Media's Destination Wedding, to historical drama, 6888. Straw marks his most urgent and emotionally raw film yet, leaning into socio-psychological drama rather than broad comedy or adaptation, showcasing his versatility as a creator. Hip-hopvibe.com. +8. What's-on-Netflix.com. +8. TheCNMOHOLIC.com. +8. Elevated emotional commitment. While Perry's earlier dramatic entries sometimes felt uneven, Straw garnered praise as among his most emotionally coherent and powerful efforts. Though still prone to melodrama, the narrative was more focused and resonant than many prior attempts. Hip-hopvibe.com. +10. TheGuardian.com. +10. EW.com. +10. Performing Arts 3. Not a historical drama. The film features no real-world counterpart. It does not depict historical events, nor attempt to recreate a past period. It is rooted in present-day reality, dealing with modern economic precarity, policing, and media. The absence of required historical research means Perry was free to build Straw around a contemporary, character-driven crisis without period constraints. Whiteheaver checkmark 4. Contribution to Perry's oeuvre and genre. A darker, urgent voice. In a catalogue often oriented toward familiar, uplifting narratives or family sagas, Straw steps into tense social realism, channeling spruce day afternoon-style tension through a 21st-century filter. A fresh perspective, being a thrilling, intimate, psychological tinged story with a black single mother at its center gives Straw a space within both Perry's work and the broader genre that isn't frequently explored, particularly with this level of intensity. Standalone impact. As a separate narrative, Straw isn't tied to expectations of franchise continuity. Its contribution is thematic depth and character substance rather than universe building. Megaphone final assessment. Franchise context. No ongoing series or sequel setup. Complete, self-contained emotional thriller. Historical authenticity. Not applicable. Straw is fictional and present day. Within Perry's catalogue, a new tonal shift. His most dramatic, tense, and socially grounded project to date. Narrative contribution. Amplifies Tyler Perry's growth as an auteur stepping towards psychological realism, creating a standalone film that resonates both in emotional authenticity and cultural urgency. Budget versus production quality. Estimated budget. Industry speculation places production costs at around $70 million, reflecting a mid-range Netflix drama budget. Medianimar.com. +11. Pathology.wastl.edu. +11. The-numbers.com. +11. Production values. High, quality cinematography, elaborate rain sequences, and extended practical set pieces. The film benefits from a polished visual and technical presentation, rivaling many theatrical releases and showcasing effective use of its financial resources. Verdict. The production quality matches or exceeds expectations for its budget level, delivering cinematic polish without blockbuster-scale expenses. Chart with upward trend financial performance and success indicators. Box office, not applicable, released exclusively on Netflix on June 6, 2025. Streaming performance. Debuted strongly on Netflix's platform, featuring prominently on its daily top 10 charts. Achieved widespread audience acclaim, with media outlets describing it as must-watch and tweeting Oscar praise. Netflix's overall viewer engagement in Q2 2025 remained robust, supported by surging subscriptions and engagement rates. Fortune.com. +2. Prioridata.com. +2. Nota.ai. +2. Verdict. While there's no box office tally, the film achieved strong streaming traction and positive audience reception, markers of digital success. Megaphone impact of marketing and audience response. Word of mouth. Social media buzz amplified the plot twist, praised Henson's performance, and sparked conversation around mental health, racism, and empathy. The-numbers.com. +4. Facebook.com. +4. en.wikipedia.org. +4. YouTube.com. +4. Decider.com. +4. Indiatimes.com. +4. Media coverage and reviews. Widespread headlines highlighted the emotional power of the film, the insane plot twist, and calls for awards attention for Taraji P. Henson. ScreenRant.com. +1. Indiatimes.com. +1. Marketing support. Netflix distributed multiple trailers and media coverage, reinforcing its visibility across the platform and public awareness. Sparkle's final assessment. Category evaluation. Budget level $70 million, a solid mid-range budget. Production quality high, cinematic visuals, polished effects, strong design execution. Box office not applicable, straight to streaming. Streaming success strong, high rankings and positive audience and critical response. Marketing impact effective, plot-driven buzz, social media engagement, trailer hype. Conclusion. Straw represents a financially successful venture for Netflix. Its production quality justified its estimated budget, delivering a cinematic quality thriller rooted in societal themes. Although it bypassed theaters, it gained significant audience engagement, evidenced by its streaming performance, social buzz, and positive critical discourse. For Tyler Perry and Netflix, Straw stands as a strong return on investment in the evolving digital-first release landscape. Would you like a comparison to similarly budgeted Netflix films or insight into how this results ties into Netflix's broader 2025 content strategy? Television available platforms. Netflix Global. Straw premiered exclusively on Netflix on June 6, 2025. Netflix.com. +8. Realgood.com. +8. YouTube.com. +8. Moviefone.com. +2. Movieinsider.com. +2. Instagram.com. +2. It is available in all Netflix regions in multiple viewing tiers, including the standard ad-supported plan. Digital purchase rental. Some platforms list Straw as rentable or purchasable, e.g., on Just Watch, but Netflix remains the primary and most consistent distribution channel. People.com. Physical media, upcoming. Blu-ray or DVD editions are expected to release around August 2025, following Netflix's standard timeline for physical formats. RottenTomatoes.com. +10. Movieinsider.com. +10. JustWatch.com. +10. YouTube.com. Headphone best viewing experience. Viewing option recommended for Netflix, 4K plus Dolby Atmos, home theater setups, maximizes cinematic visuals and sound. Moviefone.com. +13. JustWatch.com. +13. Pathology.wastl.edu. +13. Standard Netflix, HD, streaming via tablet or TV, great clarity and accessibility. Physical Blu-ray or DVD collectors, includes extras or behind-the-scenes content. Digital rental non-subscribers who prefer pay-per-view flexibility. For the richest sensory impact, highlighting the natural rain scenes, emotional performances, and layered soundscape, 4K HDR with Dolby Atmos is optimal. Left-pointing magnifying glass viewing tips for maximum impact. Set the tone. Watch during a time when dialogue and emotional intensity won't be interrupted to fully absorb the film's escalating tension. Use quality audio. Enhance the film's atmospheric elements, like ambient noise, soundtrack swells, and editing rhythms, with clear sound. Pause and reflect. Several scenes, e.g., eviction, courtroom standoff, the twist, benefit from close watching and patience. White heavy checkmark verdict. Primary platform, Netflix, worldwide, from June 6, 2025. Highest quality experience, stream in 4K HDR with Dolby Atmos via Netflix. Collector option, Blu-ray or DVD available August 2025. Flex option, rent or purchase on digital storefronts for non-subscribers. Straw is best experienced as a high-quality home streaming event on Netflix, using optimal video and audio settings. The intimate and immersive nature of the film is ideally suited to this format, allowing audiences to fully engage with its emotional depth, tension, and social commentary. Where to watch Straw, 2025. White heavy checkmark 1. Netflix, exclusive streaming platform. Straw premiered exclusively on Netflix on June 6, 2025, and is currently available only to subscribers of the platform. It is not available in theaters, and there was no traditional box office release, in line with Netflix's strategy for original dramatic content. Global access. The film is available on all regional versions of Netflix, US, UK, Canada, India, Australia, and more, ensuring accessibility worldwide. Streaming plans supported. Standard with ads. Standard HD. Premium, 4K UHD plus Dolby Vision plus Dolby Atmos. This version is recommended for the most cinematic experience. No entry unavailable on these platforms, as of now. Amazon Prime Video. Hulu. Disney Plus. HBO Max. Apple TV Plus. Shopping Trolley 2. Digital rental or purchase, possible but limited. Although primarily a Netflix exclusive, Some digital retailers like Apple TV or Google Play may offer the film for rent or purchase later in 2025. However, such listings are often delayed, and as of June, Netflix remains the only reliable source. Optical Disc 3. Physical release, Blu-ray or DVD, expected late summer 2025. Netflix usually partners with physical media distributors for Blu-ray and DVD editions of popular titles. A collector's edition or standard release is expected around August or September 2025, which may include behind-the-scenes featurettes, deleted scenes, commentary by Tyler Perry and cast, headphone best viewing experience, how to watch for fullest impact, film visual and audio recommendations. TV, use a large 4K screen, with Dolby Vision or HDR support if available. Audio, a home theater system or good quality headphones are ideal to fully appreciate the layered sound design, especially during high-tension scenes and storm sequences. Lighting, watch in a dark room to enhance the cinematic contrast. This complements the film's moody palette and rain-heavy visual aesthetic. Pushpin why this matters. The film relies on subtle performances, tense silences, and emotionally heavy beats that are best absorbed with minimal distractions. Ambient details, like the rain hitting the roof or the echo in an empty courtroom, enhance immersion and are missed on casual viewing. Viewing tips for maximum engagement. Tip why it helps. Watch in one sitting maintains emotional momentum and suspense across turning points. Use subtitles, even if you understand English. Helps catch whispered dialogue and nuanced lines. Pause after major scenes. The film contains emotionally dense moments that may benefit from reflection, e.g., the eviction, the court verdict, the final reveal.